Hey, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going over 5 things that you should be preparing for pre-patch. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so today we're going to be going over 5 things for pre-patch that you probably should be preparing for when it comes to the realms of gold making. That being the case, let's get into number 1, which is glyphs. Yes, I know I bang on about glyphs all the time, but inscription is one of my favourite professions, so I'm not going to shut up about it anytime soon. Now, glyphs is something that you may want to start crafting right now, as of the ink trader is changing up. That means that all of the old inks from the WorthIt pigment, which can be gotten a hold of really darn cheaply, and then going over to the ink trader and trading that in for the other inks, is well worth your time in order to craft up those glyphs. So what I've decided to do is actually get a load of these inks. I've actually gotten 1,000 of each and every ink using the WorthIt pigment, and then using that I've actually gone ahead and made 50 of every single glyph. Now this may be a little bit excessive by some people's standards, but what I have actually considered is, beginning of Shadowlands, a lot of the inks will actually be high valued, even if they are one of the common ones, kind of like ultramarine ink. Now at first they'll be going for quite a bit of gold, and you won't be able to actually get a hold of those old world inks or pigments very easily. This is why I'm doing it now and then pre-stocking, in order to actually not even worry about that and focus solely on Shadowlands content. Therefore, that's why I've got 1,000 of each ink, and also the glyphs. Now, aside from that, every single glyph will be required. That is because you want to maximize the amount of gold that you're actually going to be making, as certain people prefer different types of glyphs. And overall, the glyph market usually spikes at the beginning of an expansion and at pre-patch. This is something you may want to consider, and I would highly recommend stockpiling a load of glyphs in order to maximize the amount of gold that you're going to be receiving on pre-patch. Other than that, that gives us a nice little side note into number 2, which is inks. Yes, and I have said inks because I already stated it in the first one. This one coincides the other one very well, as inks are something you may want to stockpile. Now, due to the ink trader being actually removed and given us a new ink trader within Shadowlands, we don't really know what's actually going to be going about when it comes to trading in our new inks, which one's going to be the new common one, which one's going to be the harder one to get a hold of, and all that jazz. So at this moment in time, there is a high demand, there is a high supply of like Dreamleaf and also WorthIt pigment on the auction house. So what I would consider is actually buying out that now at cheap expense and getting a hold of a load of all of the inks. This is why I've gotten 1,000 of each ink, so then I don't have to actually worry about it when I move into Shadowlands, because then I can focus solely on the new stuff, and then I can work out which one's going to be best for us, and gives the market a time to settle, and you can still keep that supply up of loads of other different things you're actually crafting when it comes towards your inscription and just inks in general. You could sell these inks flat on the auction house, but the majority of the time it will be glyphs that you'll be wanting to craft with this. Now, aside from all of that, the things that you may want to do as well is keep a hold of a load of these inks, and then wait for when the pre-patch is nearing its end and release day, and then maybe a couple of weeks afterwards. And that is because usually when a new expansion actually drops, or when pre-patch gets to about a middle stage, a lot of prices start to rise up again, as everyone's doing all of the other content and not really that focused on gold making. This is where you could actually dominate this area, because less people in your market, you'll be able to put in your supply and then not have a lot of competition when it comes towards your gold making. This is where you could then post your inks or post your glyphs alongside that, and therefore be able to pull in a decent amount of gold then as you would beforehand. Other than that, let's move into number 3, is relic mats. Now, I've said this before, and this is relic mats. Yes, They are pretty damn good, and they're looking to be quite substantial in the grand scheme of crafted mogs and also crafted items in general, due to the fact of their scalability. Now this is something you may want to consider, and this is a few things on the screen right now you may want to be stocking up on for your relics of the past. Now this is because that these relics of the past will be able to scale gear, and that means that if you can do it now, a lot of these materials are actually relatively cheap, so you could buy these on the auction house now and ready to craft into relics of the past, so then you don't have to go into a massive frenzy to buy out these materials later on, and you've just got the supply there to craft all of these relics of the past in order to scale gear and then sell that on for a tidy profit. Things that I would recommend when it comes to like professions for scaled gear, I would definitely recommend using blacksmithing. So get anything that goes alongside blacksmithing. That would be the majority of it would be ore. So that would be like thorium ore that you want to be getting a hold of. Also with tailoring, you may want to grab some rune cloth, and alongside that rugged leather as well. The other different types of things for relics of the past are well worth your time, and I'd highly recommend stockpiling some of these cheap mats now in order to make a profit later on when we either hit pre-patch or when the release of Shadowlands actually hits. Other than that, let's move into number 4, which is healing pots. Yes, I'm actually being very specific on this, and this is healing potions to be precise. Now, I make actually a tidy amount of gold. I'm not going to say like you make millions upon millions, but you make a nice tidy sum when it comes towards healing potions at the beginning of pre-patch and also the expansion as a whole. This is because a lot of people will be wanting like healing potions in order to just be able to not have to rest that much, or just heal through stuff because some things may hit harder. In my experience, potions have always been bought quite rapidly, and the best ones for this is healing potions, as they usually spike at pre-patch and then all the way over towards the release as well. This is because people just generally want to have healing potions on them when they go into pre-patch. Now when it comes towards myself when I'm leveling, I usually keep like a decent amount, like about 100 healing potions on me at a time, and this is because then when I'm like leveling, I don't have to really stop all that much for like heals and all that stuff. I can just pop a potion and just keep going. I don't really want to slow down because I like to race towards the end goal of just hitting max level as soon as possible, and then I can get into the stuff that I really enjoy, which is professions. So that is something I always like to do, and this is what a lot of other people want to do, but then instead of crafting those healing potions, they'll just buy them flat off the auction house because that takes more time out of their time to actually do stuff. So you may want advantage of that laziness and just post those healing potions on the auction house and then make a profit on that. The other thing of note I would recommend, however, is you may be worth your time to farm up Xenanthid in order to craft the abyssal healing potions, and then you can make a nice tidy sum from that. As you know, that's pure profit. I know that is farming to craft, but the other way of doing it is buying off the auction house, and preferably I like to farm up the actual materials for healing potions because they don't require a lot of materials for it, so it doesn't really affect me all that much. So from that, let's move into number 5, which is a buff food, and to be more precise, you're going to want to get any of the foods that are from BFA and are going to give you stat bonuses. This could be the feasts, mainly due to the fact of the buffs, and also the other lesser known foods from BFA. Now this is because a lot of damaging ones usually sell the best when it comes towards that, so like anything that boosts like their agility or their damage output, they usually sell the best upon a pre-patch or a release, and that is because obviously you want to be able to take out the mobs pretty damn fast because some of them hit quite hard, and they will sell usually the best, and then it's usually health based buff foods. So I'd really focus on those two categories if you really want to make gold with your cooking and utilizing that. The other thing I would note is you're going to want to make quite a lot of this in order to maximize the amount of gold you're going to get, because you're going to sell quite a lot of food upon release of Shadowlands, the pre-patch. So that's something you may want to consider right there. In the case, that is 5 things to prepare for pre-patch when it comes to the realms of gold making. Have an awesome rest of the day, guys, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow.